Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me today to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment or two to become present. So find a nice, comfortable seated position so that your back is nice and long, spine is elongated, the back of your neck's long, top crown of your head's reaching up to the sky, opening your chest, opening your diaphragm. And gently close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. Soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes, although it's been really nice just sitting there with the sun beating on me. We'll continue. For today's intention, if you would kindly think of a positive word or a phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day, that would be great. Today, I'd like to talk about the fourth Niyama. Again, the yamas, there's 5 of those. Those are guidelines on how to interact with the outside world. And the niyamas, and there's 5 of those, and those are how to interact with yourself. So the 4th one is called Svadyaya. So Sava means oneself, and Yaya means lesson. So it's about self-study and self-awareness. It's stepping into the role as an observer without judgment. And let me repeat that again. It's stepping into the role of the observer without judgment. When we're on the mat, we need to listen to our bodies and not to our ego. So as we develop a greater capacity for compassion for ourselves on the mat, we're also developing a greater compassion for those outside of ourselves and their uniqueness. So when we're understanding on the mat that we're unique in special ways, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We can take that compassion of knowing that we're unique and different from everyone else, and we take that off the mat and we use that as compassion for other people and celebrating their uniqueness. So there's a quote from Aristotle that says, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." So for today's pranayama, we talk about pranayamas, breathing techniques, and they're kind of specialty breaths. I mean, we have our regular breath that we use every single day. And then there's these different breaths that maybe bring more energy to us or more awareness to us or cooling us off or coming into a rhythm. I have one that helps me to sleep better. But there's one specialty breath, if you will, that is designed for the asana practice, and that's called the Ujjayi breath, or also known as the ocean breath. So that breath is specific to quieting your mind and slowing the flow of your breath and synchronizing your breath to the movements. And it's the way it's done is it creates the sound, so it makes you more aware, self-aware of your breathing. So the sound, again, it's called ocean breath because there's a sound that is similar to the ocean that you make. And when you're practicing your asana practice, tune into that Ujjayi, that ocean breath sound. Because if it becomes shallow or strained, you may be overextending yourself, and you come back to a spot where you can feel that that breath is a little bit fuller, less strained. So again, self-awareness in your body, that maybe a pose that is not good for you, don't do it. Be aware of your breath. If you're breathing and it's not a comfortable breath, then back off on that. Just be, again, the whole idea is Svadyaya. Svadyaya is to have that self-awareness. So for the Ujjayi breath, we've done it before. You may have done it for years, but it takes the three-part breath, the complete breath, where your tummy is expanding, sending that flow of breath up to your ribs, and then sending that flow of breath up to your chest. So it's a full breath from your stomach on up to your chest. And then the exhale would be from the chest down through the ribs, flowing away from the ribs, flowing away from the stomach. So it's an inhale fully from the stomach up to the chest, and then exhaling fully from the chest down to the stomach. So you take that breath and you add the sound to it. And the exhale part is like you're trying to fog up a mirror. So it's, and the inhale part is kind of like Darth Vader. So it's easier to get that sense of that breath when your mouth is open. So you try a few breaths that way. And then during practice, you want to keep your mouth closed. So the feeling is emanating from the back of your throat, but it's coming through your nostril, the inhale and the exhale. So, and that's where the real Darth Vader sound comes in. So throughout today's practice, if you try to employ that breath technique to just kind of monitor where you are in the poses, that'd be great. And then for today's meditation, I thought rather than have a mudra, there's a nice mantra that's often used. It's called so hum. And you inhale with the so, and you exhale with the hum word. And so hum means I am. So again, you're focusing on yourself, you're studying yourself, you're being aware of yourself. So on the inhale, so, and then on the exhale, hum. So just take a few moments to meditate, and I will meet you on the mat. You may open your eyes now and we'll start our asana practice. So let's start with some shoulder shrugs. You're just relaxing your shoulders and moving them up toward your ears, and then moving them back so that your shoulder blades are reaching toward one another. Then move your shoulders down toward the mat and then forward to the front of the mat and then up again. We just kind of gently, without any tension, make circles. So I'm talking about uniqueness of everyone. Physically, I mean, we're all unique in our spirit and in our minds. And I'd like to talk about our uniqueness in body, because I often hear from people, I can't do that pose, or that really hurts. And everybody's different. And so that uniqueness that we bring, that is so special, you just have to understand that not everyone's alike. There was in our yoga teacher training, there was a video by this gentleman, Paul Grilly, and he is kind of an expert in yoga world, I guess, on yoga and the anatomy. And he was showing in this video, and you can actually switch directions if you want with your shoulder shrugs. He was showing how people who might be the same gender, same age, but not able to do the same pose in certainly the same way, or one of them might not even be able to do the pose, period. And it might be just the way they were born, or an injury that they incurred during their lifetime, multiple reasons. One thing with men and women, they're different. Men, if you think of a heart, men have the shoulders, broader shoulders and narrower waist, typically. So if you think of a heart, it has bigger shoulders up on the top and then coming down to narrower waist. And then women flip that so that the heart is broader down in the hip area for childbearing purposes, and then comes up narrower and the shoulders. So we don't have that broad shoulder thing because we don't need the strength, that hunter-gatherer thing. And then the women need the broader hips for the childbearing. So just in that simple character, you can see men and women are different. So remembering the goals of the asana practice is that we're trying to have more flexibility in our body, more strength in our body, more balance in our body. And it's going to look different on each one of us. So don't get caught up in, oh, my legs are up here and not down here. That's your uniqueness, and celebrate that. So let's continue on to sun breath. So bringing your fingertips down to the mat. Inhale, coming up. And exhale, bringing your hands back down. And try to employ that Ujjayi breath. Get that sound going so you get familiar with it. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale down. And then we're going to do some sun twists. So inhale, bringing your hands back up overhead. Twist to the left side of your mat. Bring your hands down. Right hand lands on your left knee. Left hand lands behind your hips. Twisting, sending your gaze to the left side of the mat. Inhale, bring your hands up. And then twist to the right, bringing your left hand to your right knee, right hand behind your hips. Inhale, arms come back up. Twist to the left, bringing your right hand down on your left knee, left hand behind you. Nice straight back. Inhale up. Twist to the right, and come down, bringing your hand down on your knee and the other hand right behind your hips. Inhale, come back up to center, and then bring your hands back down. We're going to roll down onto our backs. So you can do that either one vertebrae at a time, just slow-mo until gravity takes over, or just do the express method and kind of lower right on down. Bring our knees to our chest, give them a nice gentle hug. And then bring our, interlace our fingertips and bring that to the right knee and send your left leg all the way to the end of the mat. Flex both feet so the toes are pointing up to the sky, activating both legs. Feel that active, kind of like you're strengthening your thigh muscle and your knees muscles, your shins. And then we're going to take that left leg and we're going to send it to the left so that it's out, just outside the edge of your mat. So you should feel just a little bit more tension, a little bit more strength in your left leg's thigh. And then bring that left leg back to center, bring it back up to your chest, hug both legs together. And then bring your interlaced fingers to your left knee, extending your right leg all the way to the end of your mat. Toes are pointing up to the sky, feet flexed. Leg is active, engage your leg muscles. And then send that right leg out to the right side of your mat, just so that your heel's just outside the edge of the mat. And then bring that leg back to center and bring that knee back to center and give both knees a nice hug. Place both feet down onto the mat so your knees are pointing up to the sky. And then we're going to send our right leg up to the sky. And that may look bent to you, for you, that is fine. Or if you're able to straighten out, that's fine too. Again, this is your yoga practice. This is for you. So the ideal is to, try to gain a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more strength, a little bit more balance. And you do that the best way that your body allows you to. So your legs up to the sky. And then let's just walk our hands up as far as they can go, with keeping our back on the mat and our head on the mat. And then we're going to take our right hand and bring our leg to the 1 o'clock position and then to the 2 o'clock position. We're only going to go to 2 o'clock today. And then bring it back to the 1 o'clock, back to the 12 o'clock position. Switch hands, grab your leg with your left hand, putting your right hand down on the mat to support you. And then bring your foot to the 11 o'clock position and then the 10 o'clock position. 11:30 works too. I just really feel that stretch in my outer thigh here. And then bring it back to 11 o'clock and then back to 12 o'clock. And then bring both knees back to your chest. Give them a nice hug. And then place both feet back down on the mat. We'll send the left leg up to the sky. Walk our hands up as high as we can go, keeping our back and head on the mat. And then we'll grab with our left hand and go to 11 o'clock and then 10 o'clock. Back to 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock. Switch hands, right hand to the left leg. And then guide your foot to the 1 o'clock position and then the 2 o'clock position. And back to 1 o'clock and back to 12 o'clock. And bring both knees back to your chest and give them a nice gentle hug. And we'll come up to tabletop, so you can roll up using your hands underneath your knees and generating a nice rock, or you can just come up to tabletop, whatever ways best works for you. Coming to tabletop, we have our hands with our fingers spread apart, wrists are right below the shoulders, knees are right below the hips, navel's tucked to the spine, activating your core. I'm going to inhale and then exhale, rounding our back, dropping our head down, tailbone down for cat. Inhale, lift your head and tailbone up for cow. Exhale, rounding the back, dropping the head and tailbone down for cat. Inhale, lifting the head up, tailbone up for cow. And we'll continue doing this at your own pace. Deep inhales, deep exhales, using that Ujjayi breath. Just kind of monitor how the sound is for each part of the pose. And then everybody come and meet in tabletop when you're ready. Bring both knees together under your hips. And we're going to extend our right leg out, pointing the toes to the bottom of the mat, and extend our left arm out for bird dog. And then we'll inhale, pointing the toes, exhale, flexing the foot, inhale, pointing toes, exhale, flexing the foot, inhale, point, exhale, flex, inhale, point, exhale, flex, inhale, point, exhale, flex, inhale, point, exhale, flex. One last time, inhale, point, exhale, flex. Bring both leg and arm down. And if you were able to do your Ujjayi breath and see how that, as time went on, if it became shallower or whatever, you can always bring that leg down or arm down, whichever. Actually leave your leg up and bring your arm down. Might be less strenuous. So let's do that on the left side. Left leg extended. Hands are pushing down to create that space between your shoulder and your ears. And hands that have your weight distributed evenly. And then bring the right arm up. Pointing the toe, inhale. Flex, exhale. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. Inhale, point. Exhale, flex. One last time, inhale, point. Exhale, flex. And bring hand and leg back down. Tuck your toes under and walk your hands back, coming into a squat. And then pushing down to lift up into mountain pose. We'll go through our mountain essentials for good posture. So toes are pointing straight to the edge of the mat. You lift your toes up off the mat, spread them wide apart, and then bring them back down to the mat, lifting your heels up off the mat. And then bring your heels back down. Legs are nice and straight, strong, gentle bend in your knees. Navel's tucked to your spine, activating your core. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Spine in the back of the neck's nice and long. Crown of your head's reaching up to the sky. Inhale, sweeping your hands up and overhead. And exhale, bending at the waist. Forward fold, bending your knees deeply, bringing your hands to the mat. And just relax here for a moment. And check in with your body. We do this each week, but this is particularly the idea today, that self-awareness, self-study. Just check any tension you may feel. Try to send a nice, deep, loving breath to that tension. Inhale, bring your hands up to your shins. Flat back for half forward fold, open chest, open heart. Exhale, bring your head toward the mat for forward fold. And then inhale, sweeping your hands from the mat all the way up to the sky. And reaching up toward the sky, come up on your tippy toes. And sway back and forth for palm tree. Create balance, work on our balance. And then bring your heels back down, bring your hands back down, forward fold. Head coming down toward the mat. Inhale, half forward fold, bringing your hands up your shins and flattening out the back. Exhale, forward fold, bring your crown of your head toward the mat. And then sweep your hands from the mat all the way up overhead. Bring your palms together. And bring the right hand to the right thigh. Slide that right hand down to your right knee, side stretch. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, bring the left hand down, left thigh, side stretch to the left. Inhale, come back up. Bring your hand up, right hand comes down to your right thigh, slide it down toward your knee, side stretch to the right. Inhale, come back up. And left hand comes down, sliding your hand down toward your knee, side stretch to the left. And bring your both hands back up. Exhale, forward fold. Crown of the head goes toward the ground. Knees can be bent here for whatever comfort level provides you. And then inhale, halfway up, half forward fold. Flat back, open chest. Exhale, forward fold. Bring your left hand right in front of your left foot, and then bend your left knee toward your left arm. And I'm going to sweep our right hand from the floor all the way up to the sky for forward fold with a twist. And if it's comfortable, send your gaze up to your hand. And then exhale, bring that hand down. Place your right hand in front of your right foot bend your right knee toward your right arm, and then sweep your left leg would be as straight as comfortable, and then sweep your left hand all the way up overhead, sending your gaze up to the left hand. And then bring that left hand back down. Forward fold, sweep both hands from the mat up, all the way up overhead. And then bring them down and clasp them behind your back, gently relaxing your shoulders and rolling them back. Have your hands interlaced behind your back. We'll do some chest openers in the standing position. So this is called a yoga lock. And then inhale, extend your hands away from your hips. And then exhale, bring your clasped hands to your right waist. And inhale, extend them in back of you again. And exhale, bring them to the left side, left waist. Inhale, reach them back away from your hips. Exhale, bring them to the right side. Inhale, extend them back. And then bring them over to the left side, the exhale. Then release your hands. Sweep your hands up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Then bend your knees to your comfort level. Inhale, half forward fold. Flat back, open chest. Exhale, forward fold, bring the crown of your head toward the mat. And then inhale, sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. Palms together, bringing your palms to heart center, Anjali Mudra. And then we'll place both hands on our hips, fingertips pointing down. Feet are hip width apart. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is tucked to your chest. And then we'll just drop our shoulders back for supported back bend. Keeping your chin tucked toward your chest. Remember to breathe. This is a good one to hear the Ujjayi breath and where your comfort is in this pose. And then inhale, come back up. So sweeping our hands up overhead. And exhale, bring your hands down to the mat, forward fold. Placing both hands on the mat, we're going to extend our right leg back. So we come into runner's lunge. Lunge part is where your knees right over your ankle, toes facing the front of the mat. Your back leg is nice and active. So you feel that active muscle tension. Your heel is pushing to the back of the mat. That helps create that active part of your leg. And then bring your right knee to the mat, top of your right foot to the mat. And then we'll bring our hands up and overhead for low lunge. And then bring our hands back down to the mat. Come back up to runner's lunge by tucking our toes under, lifting our leg back up. And pivot that right foot, that back foot down. So it's pivot and resting, the foot is resting on the mat. And then we're going to push down into our front leg, lift up to warrior one. So this part of the asana practice will focus on flexibility. So just check in with your leg, make sure that you have the lunge position, your knees over your ankle. You could just barely see your toe, big toe pointing over your knee, toes facing the front of the mat. Back edge of the foot is snug into the mat. Arms are up, and you're facing toward the right corner. Now, the traditional way of doing warrior one is to twist to the front so that you're facing your front knee. So that shows a little bit more flexibility. It's not something I do often because I'm not too comfortable with how your hips are during this. But let's just go with it for today, the traditional way. So then interlace your fingers behind your back, rounding your shoulders back, chest is nice and open. And then we're going to hinge at the hips, lean forward, and just send our hands out like we're flying. And then release our hands, bring them back down to the mat. Bring our left foot to the back to meet your right foot and come into plank. And then bring your knees down. We're going to go knees, chest, chin to come down to the mat. So knees down, chest comes down, chin comes down. Hands stay where they are. Fingertips are under your shoulders. And then with their elbows tucked into the side, push up to cobra. And then we're going to push up further so that our hips come up and then down toward our ankles into child's pose with our arms extended forward. And then bring our hips up, that we're into tabletop, tucking our toes under. We bring our hips up to the sky, downward dog, and pedal out here for a moment. And I'm gonna walk your dog. Fingertips are spread apart, chest is reaching toward your thighs, hips are extended up to the sky. And then we're going to raise our right leg up to three-legged dog. Come up, try and keep our weight evenly distributed in our hands. And then bring that leg slowly between our hands. And we'll come into a runner's lunge position. The left knee comes down to the mat. Left top of the foot comes down in the mat. And we're in a low lunge position and reach up to the sky. And then bring our hands back down to the mat. Tuck our toes under, come back up to runner's lunge. Pivot the back foot down. And then push down in our front leg. Again, we're going to come up into warrior one. So bring your arms up to the sky, facing the corner first. Get yourself in alignment so your toes are pointing to the front of the mat. Knees stacked over your ankle, back foot's, the edge is nice and snug into the mat. And then gently twist your body to the left. Now, if this is too uncomfortable, you can bring your left leg out to the kind of into the next track, if you will, if you're thinking railroad tracks. But if you're comfortable with this twist, that's fine. Bring your arms down, interlace your fingers behind your back, and then lean forward, hinging at the hip. Come into, it's kind of a modified humble warrior. So extending our hands out, reaching over our thigh. And then release your hands, bringing them to the mat. Bring your right foot back to join your left foot. Come into plank. Shoulders are right above the wrists. Both heels are pushing to the back of the mat. And then bring your knees down to the mat for knees, chest, chin. So knees come down, chest comes down, and then chin comes down. Fingertips are right below your shoulders. Elbows tucked to your ribs. Push down gently to come up into cobra. Hips are still on the mat. And then push down further to come up to tabletop, and then extend your hips down toward your ankles, stretching your arms out front for child's pose. And then come back up to tabletop, tuck your toes under, reach your hips up to the sky, coming into downward dog. Pedal out here, walk your dog some around. Then we're gonna lift our left leg up to three-legged dog. And then slowly bring that leg, that foot between your hands, coming back to runner's lunge. Your knees right below your ankle. Then we pivot our back foot down again and push down into our front leg to raise up into warrior two. So before we do our hands, just get our alignment on our feet right, toes pointing to the top of the mat, knees over your ankle. You just see your big toe right on the other side of your knee, pushing down in your back foot, back edge, then push down both feet and push out. So your bent knees pushing to the front of the mat, your other foot's pushing to the back of the mat, and really feel the strength there. Chest is open to the side of the mat. Lift your shoulders up. Your arms up to shoulder height. And then gently turn your head to look at the left fingertips. And this is a strength move. And then we're gonna straighten our front leg out as we lift our left fingertips up to the sky, come into peaceful warrior. And then bring both hands, cartwheel them back down to the mat, coming into runner's lunge. Bring your left foot back to reach your right foot, coming into plank. And then here you could either knees, chest, chin down to the mat, or chaturanga. Chaturanga, you're pushing with your toes toward the front of the mat as you're lowering down, keeping your elbows tucked to the side. And then push down into your hands to come up to cobra. And then push down further, come up into tabletop, and extend your hips down to your ankles for child's pose. Arms reaching out. Inhale, come back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes under. Raise your hips up to downward dog. And pedal out here for a moment. And then raise your right leg up, three-legged dog. And slowly bring that to the front of your mat between your hands, coming into runner's lunge. You're gonna pivot your back foot down to the mat, and then push down into your front leg to come up into warrior two again. Again, toes pointing to the top of the mat, knee over ankle, back foot down, and then push down and then toward the front. Really feel your legs activate. Chest is open to the long side of the mat. And then raise your arms up to shoulder height. Gently turn your head to the right. Look at your right fingertips. And then straighten your front leg out while you reach your right hand up to the sky for peaceful warrior. And then exhale, bringing both hands, cartwheeling back down to the mat. And bring your right foot to the back of the mat to join your left foot. And come down, chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. Gently to the mat. And pushing off with your toes. Keeping your elbows tucked in. Then push down into your hands, come up into cobra. And then lift up into tabletop. And then lower your hips to your ankles for child's pose. Inhale, come back up to tabletop, tuck your toes under, and then come into downward dog. And pedal out here for a few moments. And then slowly walk your feet up to your hands. To forward fold, and then slowly sweep your hands from the mat all the way up overhead, bringing your palms together and then bringing your palms to heart center. And then for the last one, we've done flexibility, we just did strength, and we'll do balance, which is warrior 3. So we had warrior 1, 2, and 3 today. So with warrior 3, you start with your left leg or your weaker leg. So you give that as much attention as possible. Then we're just gonna bring our right leg forward, touching the toe down, and then bring it back, touching the toe down. So just kind of get a sense of a comfortable angle for your foot to tap the mat. So front, and then back, all the time, all the while we're gaining strength in our left leg, feeling more stable in it. One last time front, and then kind of rest your foot in back with the toes touching down on the mat. Bend your left knee so you come down a little bit. Place your hands on your hips so that you are squared off, your hips are squared with the front of the mat. And then slowly pivot where your leg lifts up and your head goes down. Keeping your knee bent the entire time. Woo! Glad I had furniture there. You can send your arms back out for airplane. Maybe I'm not in a good spot here. Or maybe today, my uniqueness is just not letting me do this pose, which is fine. You have days like that. There we go. All right, bring that back down. And let's just do that on the other side. See if I have a little bit better luck on this side. So that tells me, self-steady, that I need to practice a little bit more on my weaker side to have it gain some more strength in that balance. All right, so front toe or front toe comes to the back. Your right leg is bent at the knee, and then hinge at the hips Placing your hands on your hips. And then bringing your hands out. Airplane. And if you're able to, bring them forward. I'll practice that. So we've done a few balance moves today. Well done, everyone. So bring our toes to the outer edge of the mat. Feet are angled in, heels are in at 45-degree angle. And then we're gonna slowly lower the elevator down. Hands at prayer pose at heart center. Hips come down toward the mat. Torso comes between your thighs. And then if you want a little bit more stretch, you can lower your Ujjayi mudra, your prayer pose down toward the mat, having your elbows stretch the inner thighs against your knees. And then lower ourselves down to the mat. And we're gonna roll down. Again, you could either one vertebrae at a time or express method. Express method is just like that. No, that feels good. And hug your knees to your chest. And rock back and forth to massage your lower back. And point your toes and create nice big circles, drawing with your toes. And then the other way, other direction. And then place both feet down on the mat so that they're hip width apart, and tuck your heels as close to your hips as you can. If you can reach your fingertips, hands go down, face, palms down to the mat. And if you could touch the back of your heels with your fingertips, that's great. Not necessary. Then we're going to do a few supine cat cows and then go into a bridge pose on them. So supine cat cows, so you're just going to tilt your pelvis up. So you're creating kind of a bowl with your inner lower tummy area. So the inhale and then exhale, you're going to bring your pelvis down and kind of arch that lower area up. So inhale, tilting the pelvis up. Exhale, bringing the pelvis down, creating kind of a bridge. Inhale, tilt the pelvis up. Exhale, tilt the pelvis down. And then this next time, inhale, tilt the pelvis up, and then push down on your feet, lifting up into bridge, and having your arms beside you, palms down to support you. Head should be reaching or looking up to the sky. And then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, bring your back down to the mat. And we'll do that again. So again, inhale, tilting your pelvis up. Exhale, tilting your pelvis down. Inhale, tilting your pelvis up. Exhale, tilting your pelvis down. Inhale, tilt your pelvis up and hold. And then push down on your feet. Raise your hips up to bridge. Knees should be parallel with one another, not splayed out. And then lower one vertebrae at a time, back down to the mat. Inhale, tilt your pelvis up. Exhale, tilt pelvis down. Inhale, tilt pelvis up. Exhale, tilt the pelvis down. Inhale, tilt the pelvis up and hold. Push down on your feet, lift up into bridge. Head facing up, knees parallel. And then slowly come down, one vertebrae at a time. Bring your knees up to heart center. Give them a nice hug. Extend your arms out to each side, your hands out at shoulder height to each side. Exhale, lower your legs to the left, or actually to the right, whatever way you want to go. I'm saying left and I'm lowering them to the right. And then turn your head to the opposite hand to look at your fingertips. Inhale, lift your head back to center. Inhale, lift your legs back to center. And exhale, drop them to the other side. And turn your head in the opposite direction to look at your fingertips. And slowly turn your head back to center. Inhale, lift your legs back to center. And extend your legs to the bottom of the mat and prepare for Shavasana. So just let all your limbs relax on the mat. Let your feet flop open. Release any tension you may have in your legs. Any tension you may have in your hips. Relaxing that lower back down to the mat. Relaxing your shoulders down into the mat. Have them nice and snug. Arms by your side, palms open at an angle. Arms away from your body at an angle. Head's relaxed. Your back of your neck is nice and long. Jaws softened. Eyes are softened. Placing a gentle smile on your lips. Nice deep inhale. Nice deep exhale.